I'm so excited to introduce to you guys Leah by So Lovely. She has an amazing Etsy shop full of really cute, fun, kind of whimsical designs, very creative. She's very talented. I think you guys are really going to love her stuff. Definitely go check her out on Etsy and on her Facebook and her Instagram. Today she's going to be sharing a really neat pumpkin pie earring. I think you guys are really going to enjoy it with the holidays and all of that. So definitely show your support by going and checking her out on her social media and her Etsy shop. Give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, and let us know what you think of the video. And without further ado, here is Leah.
I'm Leah, creator of So Lovely, and I am going to show you how to make some adorable pumpkin pie earrings today. So to make these, let's go over what you need. You need 3 shades of clay. You need a color that you would like to resemble pumpkin pie. For me, I've mixed colors before, but an easy way to go, I have Sculpey Primo Cinnamon, which is a nice pumpkin pie color. For my crust, I have Fimo Champagne. And then for my little dollop of whipped cream on top, because that's how I prefer my pumpkin pie, or I should say covered in whipped cream if I'm going to be eating it. But for aesthetic purposes, we're just going to do a dollop, and I have just regular Sculpey white. To shade the crust to make sure it looks like it's baked nicely, I have some neutral shades of pastels here that I'm going to shave a little bit off and use to just kind of tint the crust to make it look baked. I have some sandpaper here for texture that we're going to be using later. I have some plain paper to mix my pastel colors on, because we are going to mix a few colors to get that baked look. I have a 1.5" circular cutter that is helpful. You don't have to have it. Sometimes I don't even use it. Sometimes I just smush my stuff, and I'll show you that later. I have an acrylic roller to help me roll some things out, especially helpful if you don't have a pasta machine. And I have a pen knife, an X-Acto knife would work perfect. I got this at my local hardware store for $1.50, and I want to buy a million of them because it's coming super handy. I have a small paintbrush that I'm going to use to dab my pastel onto my clay to make it look baked. And then I also have a paper blade that I need to sharpen because it's not super sharp. But I use this to help me cut my clay, which is very helpful. If you do have a pasta machine, that'll help you condition your clay and roll out the crust to the exact thickness that you want. If you don't have a pasta machine, you're just gonna roll your heart out, honey, and you're gonna do great. All right, so first things first, I have to condition my clay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my hands. I'm going to roll them pretty quick. All I'm doing is making a ball. Think of when you were younger and you were playing with your Play-Doh and you rolled it into balls. At least maybe that was just me. Oh, look how pretty that is. And if you get any funkies on there, like there's a little crack right there, I'm going to smooth that out with my thumb. Oh, there's a lump right there. I'm going to smooth that out with my thumb. And then I like to go back in, roll it some more. Sometimes I add some heat with it using the cupping and blowing method if I need to. Luckily, this conditioned pretty well. So now I have it just in a circle. I like to start pushing down from the center. And I'm just going to keep manipulating it. Yes, fingerprints are happening, but you know what? It's okay, because we're going to use our handy dandy roller in a second. So I take my acrylic roller, and I think of it kind of like a tortilla, where you roll, move, roll. You can move it, you can move your roller, but you're kind of trying just to push it out the same in all directions. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get this to a diameter of about 1.5 inches. That's how big this circle is. So you can either roll your clay out to however thick you want your pie and cut it out with a circular cutter, or you can roll it into a ball and kind of push it down until you get to 1.5 inches. I like this method because I get that's what gives me my rounded edges on my pies, and I feel like that's a little more authentic. You don't usually get just a straight edge on when you eat a pumpkin
Interrupting
pie.
this video for one quick minute just to make sure that you know about all the amazing resources that we have for you over in our Etsy shop for polymer clay artists. So the first one is the complete guide to polymer clay earrings. This is a step-by-step guide, all the details of the best clays to use, conditioning your clay, baking your clay. Literally everything is in this ebook, more than we can cover in videos and things like that, just because there's a ton of it. A huge resource list with links and that sort of thing. So that's over in the Etsy shop. Another thing is the Getting Started on Etsy book. It's a complete guide to getting started on Etsy. So if you're just starting out and you're interested in selling your polymer clay earrings, this is a great resource for you to be able to hit the ground running, get those items listed, and hopefully start making sales. Another one is our brand new product photography ebook. This one is huge if you're selling online. Your product photos need to stand out and be bright and beautiful, and sometimes that can be a little bit tricky if you don't have much experience. So this product photography ebook will walk you through the steps of getting fantastic photos with not super expensive equipment and things like that. Just little tricks and things that you can use to get the best photos possible. And lastly, we have polymer clay color recipes. So I have tons of kits over there with a huge variety of colors. I have a fall one that's out now, a Christmas one. We've got pinks, purples, one with just like a wide variety. So those recipes tell you exactly what colors to blend together to make whatever color it is that you're looking for. So that's also a great resource for polymer clay artists. All right, I'm done with the little advertisement in this video. I hope you'll check us out on Etsy. The link will be in the description box down below, and we are at etsy.com/shop/dashing and dainty. All right, let's get back to the video.
Now I have the exact size that I want, and I'm going to move on to my Fimo champagne to make my crust. Now the thing about this is Fimo is a little bit of a tougher clay to condition. I like to use quite a bit of heat while I do it. When I say heat, I mean a hairdryer, a heating pad. You can stick it under there. I've seen people kind of sit on it a little bit to warm it up. So I'm just getting it warmed up so it will do what I want it to do when I am ready to apply it. So I'm kind of moving it into a circle right now. I can stick this through my pasta machine and start thinning it out because I want it to be nice and thin. If you do not have a pasta machine, use your acrylic roller. When you apply this to your pie, think about how thick you want the crust to be. I like my crust to be pretty thin because when you eat a pie, you're mostly eating the filling. But if you want a thick crust, go for it. I'm not gonna stop you. All right, so you just keep going. I did it on a 5, and that creates just a nice, thin, malleable sheet. So now that I have that, what I'm gonna do is take this, I'm gonna stick my pie on it. I'm gonna tap it. So that's when you're gonna use your blade. So I use this blade that I got at a hardware store, and an X-Acto knife would do the same thing. You can use that as well. I like to go in. First off, I'll usually take it and I'll kind of pick up an edge. And I'm just gonna use my finger and I'm pushing it until it just sticks. I don't want it to become like one. I'm not shoving it together, but just until it sticks. I'm gonna take my blade. I'm gonna mark where the top of that is. And I kind of pull off. Now, as I go around, it's not gonna be perfect. There's going to be sections where it looks lumpy on the top where it's not perfect. But you know what? Pie's not perfect. and that's okay. And you're gonna be putting this little crust piece on there anyway, so you're not looking for it to be perfect because you can cover it up. I'm gonna put my blade away, always very important for safety. So what I like to do is, if it's a little short on the side, or if I have little cuts, sometimes I'll just smooth those out. Now, if you have fingerprints, one easy thing to do is take some paper. Paper is smooth. It does not have any patterns on it. You can use it and just put it on and smooth it out. Look at that. No more fingerprints. You take your paper blade. You're gonna wanna cut it in half, just like you could cut a normal pie. We can get 8 pie slices out of this. So if you are like me and kind of a perfectionist, you can set it on your measuring tape and look exactly where half would be and cut it right there. That is one way you can do it, or you can just kind of eyeball it. Either way is fine. My paper blade needs to be sharpened, so I don't like to push too hard. I like to push with firmly, but kind of just go slow for me, because I don't want things to lead together. Oh, look how pretty that is. That is the star of our pie. Now, with every single piece of pie, I like to go through and make it look a little more pie-y, or that's a very technical term. You know, it's in the dictionary, right? It's not. Okay, so you're gonna take it, you're gonna push down, push, 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 like that. That way you get a little bit more of an arch. People like to see that when they're getting their pie. And now, pie does not have a super pointy edge on it. It does not. It just doesn't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to tap, tap, tap. If it is super pointy, you can even just take your thumb and push in. Now, am I going to shove it in? No. I'm going to gently tap it with my thumb. All right. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my champagne Fimo and I'm going to warm it up again. I like to warm it between my hands. And you want to get it a nice thickness, because this is going to be your pie crust. It's up to you how thick you want it. Once I get a nice length, because I'm gonna be pulling a little bit more as I twist in a second, so that it doesn't have to be the exact thickness that I want. Some people I've seen, they just take it and do it like that. That works. If that's what you want to do, you do that. I like to take mine, I fold it in half like this, and then I simply just twist, twist, twist. As I twist, I kind of move downwards, and this is just our initial twist, and you want to make sure you get a good initial twist, because if you just grab it and try to twist the whole thing, it might fall apart on you. At least in my experience, that's what I've had. That is way too big to be a pie crust, right? At least for me. So I'm going to pull a little bit, twist a little more. Pull, twist, pull, twist, pull, twist. So what I'm going to do is, I like this width that I have right now. I might even want it a little thinner, so I'm going to pull and twist. So it's a little bit thinner. I'm going to lay my pie down, and then I'm going to put this where I want it to go. I want it to kind of curve with my pie. I want it to lay. I have this extra, and I'm going to use that for the other parts of the pie. Cute piece of pie. Now, I like to push back to make sure that I connect the top in the back of my pie, because I don't want a big gap there. That would be a no-no for me. Now that I have this, I want to apply my baked shading before I even put on my whipped cream dollop, because I don't want to accidentally shade my whipped cream dollop. That would be an uh-oh. Because brown whipped cream is not very desirable. At least not for me. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick some shades to create a baked look. I already know that I like to shade the back of my pie a darker brown. So I'm gonna take it. And I just kind of shave it off. I'm not pushing hard. I'm simply letting my blade run across the pastel. I always put my pastels back where they came from. I might want it even a little darker than I have it right now. So I'm gonna add this dark brown right here. Perfect. Now to get my baked crust, I have this lighter brown, almost a tan color. I'm gonna shade that over here. Beautiful. I'm gonna mix that with this even lighter tan color. This is almost like a caramel. Beautiful. I like to mix my light brown with it. Not too much, we don't want it too dark. I like a little yellow with it because it kind of adds, it's not super prominent in coloring, but it definitely adds. And I'm going to take this color over here and shave just a little bit because it's kind of like a reddish brown, and it's really a beautiful shade to add to our colors. All right, now you can mix that up in different ways. You can use the end of your brush to mix it up. You can use a toothpick. You can use anything. I'm simply going to use a tool that I have that has a little hook on the end, and I just kind of push it around to mix my colors up. All right, so I have a nice browner color right here, and we're going to put that on the back of the pie. We're going to put it right here, kind of between the crust, because if you've ever eaten a pumpkin pie, and if you haven't, how un-American of you. But anyway, if you've ever eaten a pumpkin pie, it kind of gets a nice little cooked part in the back. And we don't want it real hard. We don't want it real deep in color. We just want to kind of shade it. And that's the whole point, to shade it. We're not looking to color it really harshly. We just want that light baked look on there, and that's really beautiful. All right, so now I'm going to take my other color. If you want to, you can kind of get the color off. I don't have a lot of excess color, as you can tell. There's nothing coming off in my hand. Just to check, luckily the pastels don't tend to grab onto the brush super harshly. Now if I dab this on, it's going to give a stronger color to it. So I like to gently lay and pull. So lay and pull to brush it. Beautiful, and that gives that nice little illusion that it's baked. Another place to put it is right here on the back to give it that baked look. How pretty. Right. I'm going to pull out my sandpaper. This is 80 grit sandpaper. I like to give a little texture to the side because when you cut a pumpkin pie, it is not completely smooth like this. So I simply lay it and I put a little bit of pressure on the side, and it gives me the tiniest bit of texture. We're not looking for full texture here, so we're gently, oh so gently, laying it and applying some pressure. So now my fingers are relatively clean. I'm gonna go ahead and take this, and we wanna roll it the same way. We wanna make another little snake with that. If you have an extruder, you can push your white clay through it so that it makes thin strands. Go for it. You can do the same thing to make the little swirl in the crust on the back of it. I've done that before, but I like to simply do this a lot of times because I can get it the exact thickness that I want, and I've noticed that it's nice and warm so that it's easier for me to manipulate than when I use an extruder to pull it out. We're gonna try to get this fairly thin, and then we're gonna pull that piece off. All right, so this piece on the end, I have this whole piece, way too much for a little dollop. This is still too much for a dollop, but I want a little too much, and I'll show you why in a second. I'm going to take this. I want the end of my pie piece to be, or not my pie piece, my dollop to be a little bit of a point because we don't want it to be a blunt end. So I put just a little bit of a smooth rounded point on there. I take it, I curl it in on itself so that it sticks upward. Once it sticks upward, I just swirl it around like so. Once I get it to the length that I want, I pull. If you have liquid clay, this would be a great time to put it between your dollop and this. If you want, you could even bake them separate and then put it on. I like to use a dot of liquid clay under my dollop so that I make sure it sticks on there. And I'm going to do that in a second. All right, so I have my liquid clay. This is Kato Poly Clay Clear Liquid. I don't typically use this with Fimo unless it's to stick, or Sculpey, unless it's to stick things together, because it comes out, their translucent is a little bit more shiny. This right here, I'm gonna put into the oven at 265 because I did use the Fimo on the crust, and that bakes it a little bit lower than the Sculpey clay does. So I'm going to put it on 265 and I'm going to leave it in there. So our pumpkin pie slices have been baking in the oven at 265 degrees Fahrenheit for the last 45 minutes. I've taken them out, I've cooled them, and they look absolutely adorable. I'm wearing another pair right now that I have previously made and have put backs on. These don't have backs yet. The easiest way to put backs on these is simply lay them down upside down. You can either put liquid clay and rebake it, because the one really cool thing about polymer clay is you can rebake it multiple times to add different accents or features, or put it back on. I like to use a really strong adhesive. I put it on the back, I put my post on there, and then I like to cover it with a layer of epoxy because I want to make sure that my back is really, really on there and not going to come off for me. So now you know how to make your very own pumpkin pie slice earrings. Have fun creating.